Welcome to another episode of HR Game Changers. I'm Dave, and joining me as always is the insightful expert, Louisa.
It's great to be here, Dave. Looking forward to getting into today's topic.
Absolutely. So today we are doing an in-depth exploration of a really relevant challenge, how you execute a successful career pivot, especially, when the job market is feeling tight, maybe a bit competitive. Our source material for this analysis, it comes from the author Brett Beauchamp Russell's strategic guide, From Stuck to Thriving, Proven Strategies to Change Industries, Highlight Your Strength, and Stand Out in a Competitive Market.
Yeah, and the material makes this really crucial distinction right up front. It argues, that a career pivot, it shouldn't be seen as just a gamble, which I think is the common anxiety-inducing way people often see it.
Totally. Feels like rolling the dice.
Exactly. Instead, it must be viewed as a deliberate plan. A measurable plan built on really targeted research and, this is key, making your existing relevance absolutely unmistakable to a new hiring manager. So we're essentially going to walk you through that precise framework today. How to shift from feeling stuck to intentionally building real momentum in a completely new sector.
That clarity plan versus gamble. I think that's a fantastic place to start. Okay, let's unpack this framework, starting with what the guide outlines as the crucial first step, the self-assessment. Because, before you look outward, you really have to get clear on what you actually want to sell, right? So this first step, it's described as a rigorous self-audit. And it goes beyond just, listing skills. List your hard skills, sure, soft skills, domain knowledge. But here's the essential twist the source brings in. You have to tag each one. Is it energizing, neutral, or actively draining for you?
Yeah, grading them based on how they actually make you feel when you use them.
Exactly.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is that focus on emotional sustainability. We see so many professionals pivot not necessarily because they hate their industry, but because they're just burning out on the tasks they do day in, day out.
That makes sense.
So if they pivot into a new role that, maybe it has a shiny new title, but it still relies heavily on those draining skills, let's say, complex budget stuff they hated.
Yeah, they're just repeating the pattern.
Precisely. They've simply traded one unsustainable job for another. So this insight, this tagging, it aims to ensure the pivot leads to, long-term fulfillment, not just a short-term job fix.
I can absolutely see the value there. We probably all know someone who changed fields only to end up doing the things that tax them the most again, which leads us to the practical application of this audit, the pivot matrix. The article suggests building a really simple table.
Okay.
You put maybe 2 or 3 target roles across the top, perhaps something like fintech product manager and, say, nonprofit operations director.
Got it.
And then you list your skills down the side. And you literally mark the clear, credible matches. It's visual.
Right. That matrix forces objectivity, doesn't it? It stops you from just vaguely telling yourself, oh, yeah, I'm good at that.
Exactly. No hand waving.
It makes you map skill to requirement visually. But okay, once you have identified those skills, this brings up a really important question for anyone pivoting.
Which is it?
How do you actually translate them for a new industry? Because the language is different, right?
Totally different.
You absolutely must eliminate your internal jargon. Replace those acronyms nobody outside your old company understands with plain terms. And then group those skills into these high-level, easy-to-scan themes, maybe analysis, operations, communication, client impact, that sort of thing.
So you're basically learning to speak their language.
That's exactly it. You stop speaking your old industry's language and you start speaking the new one.
And to find that core transferable value, the source suggests asking yourself 3 very specific questions to cut through the noise of your old job titles.
Okay, what are they?
1, which tasks consistently earn you unsolicited praise? 2, where do your peers instinctively rely on your judgment when things get ambiguous? And 3, which results have you delivered repeatedly across different roles or projects?
Okay, that sounds good, but let me push back slightly on the first one. How does the average steady performer answer that? If I'm just, diligently doing my job, I might not get unsolicited praise all the time.
That's a fair question.
Are these questions maybe skewed towards only the high flyers?
It's a critical distinction, and the guide actually clarifies this. Unsolicited praise doesn't have to mean a formal award or a big announcement. It refers more to those moments when someone says, maybe casually, wow, you made that look easy, or, I wish I could write reports that quickly.
Gotcha. So it's more subtle.
Exactly.
Why?
It's about recognizing where your effort seems disproportionately small compared to the positive result you get. That's your superpower, potentially.
Yeah.
It forces you to look beyond the official job description and identify the underlying pattern of your success.
Okay, so once those core strengths are clearer, the next step is choosing, say, 2 or 3 target sectors, and then you execute research with real purpose.
Not just casual browsing.
Definitely not. The advice is to gather at least 10, maybe more, different job descriptions for those specific roles you're targeting.
Right.
And then you literally highlight, physically or digitally, the recurring responsibilities, the required tools they keep mentioning, and the measurable outcomes they seem to value.
It's like building your own dictionary for that field.
Exactly. It becomes your Rosetta Stone. It tells you precisely what that new industry values and what winning looks like in their specific language, their lexicon.
So, okay, we've got the language down. We know what they value. What happens when we hit that inevitable tool requirement we just don't meet?
Ah, yes, the dreaded experience with X required.
Right. This is where the guide offers a really strategic move, especially for applicants who lack a specific certification or tool experience.
I'm interested.
If you lack a listed tool, let's say they demand Salesforce experience, but you've only ever used HubSpot.
Okay, common scenario.
Instead of just stopping there, you should actually name the business problem that tool is designed to solve. And then, crucially, show how you solved that exact same problem in your previous role, just using a different method or maybe a different tool.
Oh, that's smart. So you're reframing the gap.
Precisely.
You're shifting it away from just a missing checklist item towards demonstrating you understand and can solve the underlying process or problem. You're proving competency over just having used a specific brand name.
Competency over curriculum. I like that.
But, and this is important, you can't just rely on that desk research alone, reading job ads. The material really insists you balance that internal work with getting out there and doing brief informational interviews.
Talking to actual people in the field.
Yes. And ask insiders 3 essential things. 1, what does great in the first 90 days really look like on the ground in that role?
Okay.
2, which early tangible wins matter most to that specific team or manager?
Get specific.
And 3, what are the common pitfalls? What things routinely derail new hires who are coming into that role?
Those insights are gold dust, surely.
They really are. And the advice is, don't just collect them. Immediately turn those concrete answers into a practical, say, 6-week learning plan.
Ah, so you're proactive.
Exactly. So you start building the relevant skill and, importantly, the evidence while you're still searching. You're not waiting for the interview to suddenly start adding value.
That makes a lot of sense. You're already demonstrating initiative.
Precisely. And, touching on modern tools, the material does encourage using AI, things like ChatGPT or similar, but
There's a but.
there's a big but. Treat them with healthy skepticism. Use AI maybe to analyze your current resume, perhaps surface some adjacent roles you hadn't thought of, or even propose potential learning paths.
Okay.
However, and this is critical, treat the AI output strictly as hypotheses to be tested, not as instructions to just blindly follow.
Don't just copy-paste the AI's career advice.
Please don't. A really strong validation signal, though, is when the algorithmic suggestions, maybe about your fit for a role or a learning path, it suggests when that aligns perfectly with the human insights you got from your informational interviews.
When the bots and the people agree.
That's when you know you're likely onto something solid.
Okay, shifting gears now to execution. Let's talk about the resume itself. For a pivot, the guide stresses it has to read like a really intentional bridge.
Not just a list of old jobs.
Exactly. Not a confused list of past jobs that don't seem connected. You need to start with a very concise summary right at the top. And it needs to name the target role you're going for and explicitly state the unique combo of strengths you're bringing over.
Making the connection immediate.
Yes. And the structural strategy here is apparently absolutely critical. The guide strongly recommends using a hybrid resume structure.
Okay, what does that mean exactly? Hybrid.
It means placing a dedicated skills and impact section prominently above your chronological work history.
Okay. Skills first, then jobs.
Right. Now, this does raise a natural concern, doesn't it?
Right.
Why put skills above chronology when pivoting? Doesn't that look a bit like you're trying to hide the dates? Or maybe hide the fact your last job was totally unrelated?
Yeah, that would be my first thought. Is it dodgy?
It's the primary risk, definitely. But the argument is that the benefit outweighs that risk if you execute it correctly.
How so?
Well, the hybrid format is really designed to do 2 things. First, potentially get past the applicant tracking systems, the ATS bots.
The gatekeepers.
And second, Capture the human reader's attention immediately with relevance. Think about it. Your old job titles and maybe even the company names might mean nothing, or worse, signal irrelevant to someone in the new industry.
True.
So by leading with capability, the actual skills they need, you show the hiring manager you possess the core muscles they're looking for before their brain even registers that perhaps unrelated job title from 5 years ago.
Okay, I see the logic. You front-load the relevance.
Exactly. But that capability has to be backed up with specifics. You can't just list skills.
All right, needs proof.
For each key skill in that top section, the source emphasizes using the star-style bullet point. Situation, task, action, result. You have to ground every single claim in measurable outcomes.
Numbers, metrics.
Absolutely. If you're pivoting into, say, an industry obsessed with efficiency, then metrics like reduce cycle time by X% or increase throughput by Y, that's your currency. You need those results.
And you absolutely must align every single word on that resume with the target role's specific language. We talked about the research.
Using their words back at them.
Yes. So, for example, if the field really prizes customer outcomes, your bullet points need to lead with words like retention, satisfaction, time to value.
Okay.
But if the field prizes, say, operational excellence, then you need to highlight things like throughput, defect reduction, on-time delivery. It's about speaking their language of value.
And the translation pro tip mentioned in the source, I thought this was brilliant.
Which one was that?
Write 2 versions of each key bullet point.
Ah.
One version in your original industry's language. Maybe keep that in your back pocket for interviews, for context, and one version fully translated into the target industry's language. And that's the one that goes onto the resume and your LinkedIn profile.
That is such a practical piece of advice.
Can you give us maybe one clear example, just to make it concrete? Let's take that one from the outline. A sales leader's territory planning becoming resource prioritization. How does the bullet change?
Okay, sure. So in the old language, maybe the sales leader writes, managed territory planning for the Western U.S. region, resulting in a 15% increase in annual bookings. Fine for a sales job, right?
Standard sales bullet.
But maybe not quite right for, say, a strategy role they're pivoting into. Using the new, translated, more scalable language, you might write. Executed resource prioritization and allocation across a highly competitive geographical area, resulting in a quantifiable 15% increase in target acquisition rates.
Ah, I see. It shifts the focus.
Exactly. Notice how the context is generalized resource prioritization, target acquisition rates. It moves the focus away from just selling a specific product or managing a map towards the strategic skill itself.
That level of nuance, that translation, is really what makes the transferability obvious, isn't it?
It is. Instead of just saying what you did, you're naming the underlying skill, that foundational muscle you used.
Like the other examples.
Yeah.
A teacher's class on management, well, that gets reframed as stakeholder facilitation.
Or a nurse's triage prioritization skills become operations risk management. It's about elevating the skill beyond the original context.
And then to really nail the credibility, the guide suggests using this skill plus situation plus scale structure for your descriptions.
Okay, break that down.
So instead of just saying, oh, I handle change management, which is pretty weak.
Very generic.
You state something much more concrete like change management expertise deployed. That's the skill in a complex regulated environment. That's the situation. Guiding 120 staff through a new workflow with 0 recorded compliance issues. That's the scale and result.
Wow. Okay, that adds instant weight.
Right. That context and scale just makes the pivot feel much less risky to the hiring manager. They can visualize you doing it.
Now, when your direct experience in the target industry is, let's face it, maybe a bit light.
Which it often is in a pivot.
Exactly. The guide is really clear. Tangible evidence wins the day. It's generally insufficient to just list, say, that you took an online course.
A certificate isn't enough.
Often not. The advice is to pair each significant lesson or course with a concrete proof of work artifact, something you actually built or created.
Okay, like what?
These artifacts, they let a hiring team actually see you operating in their world, using their kinds of tools or tackling their kinds of problems. It lets them visualize your success before they commit to an offer. And that's far more powerful than just a certificate, which really only proves completion, not genuine competence or application.
So give us some examples of these artifacts. What could you create?
Sure. It could be things like a short case study you've written demonstrating a market opportunity you identified, maybe a dashboard prototype you built, perhaps using a tool common in their industry, or a process map showing how you'd improve a specific workflow, a relevant writing sample. Even something like a product or service teardown, showing analytically how you would improve what they do.
And how do you create these if you're not in the industry yet?
Good question. The guide suggests you can often create these by volunteering your skills, maybe for a nonprofit in that sector. Or sometimes by taking on internal projects or assignments at your current job that are deliberately outside your usual scope, pushing you into new areas.
Getting creative to build a portfolio.
Exactly. And alongside building artifacts, the material stresses that networking needs a specific approach during a pivot. Treat it as a service activity, not purely transactional, meaning you join relevant communities, maybe online groups or industry associations, attend virtual events, seek out brief, focused conversations.
Not just asking for jobs.
Definitely not. You come prepared with really pointed, intelligent questions, showing you've done your homework, have a concise, translated one-liner ready about the value you bring, and crucially, you follow up. Always follow up with gratitude, and ideally, share something useful back, maybe an article you saw, an industry insight you picked up. Give before you ask.
Okay, but what about that suggestion of asking for feedback on a portfolio piece? Isn't that a bit much to ask of a busy networking contact? Doesn't that feel like asking for free consulting?
It absolutely can be, yes. You have to be careful. The guide is clear that the timing and framing here are critical. You really only ask for feedback on an artifact after you've established some brief rapport, and ideally after you've already provided some value first.
So it's earned.
Kind of. And you frame the request carefully. Not as, hey, help me get a job, but more like, I really respect your expertise in this area. I've been working on this project related to their field to build my skills, and I'd be grateful for your quick take on whether my thinking is on the right track.
Framing it around their expertise and your learning.
Exactly. It signals initiative, respect for their knowledge, and coachability rather than just neediness.
Got it. Okay, so you've done the research, built artifacts, networked smartly. Now you land the interview. This is the moment of truth.
It really is. And the key here is you have to teach the interview team how to read your background. You absolutely cannot assume they'll connect the dots themselves.
Make it explicit.
Yes. Open with a really crisp, clear, three-part narrative. First, the logical thread that connects your past experiences to this new direction. Second, the clear, compelling reason for the shift. And third, the tangible value you believe you can deliver in the first, say, 90 days.
Lay it all out.
And you must proactively anticipate their likely concerns, especially around your industry knowledge gap.
Address the elephant in the room.
Head on. Counter that concern by showcasing the homework you've already done, mention the communities you're active in, maybe a mentor you've consulted, the projects or artifacts you've completed.
Show, don't just tell.
Exactly. And even better, the guide suggests sharing a concise, quick start plan. Nothing too detailed, but maybe list who you plan to meet with in the first month, what small, achievable wins you'd aim to deliver quickly, and how you'd propose measuring your own progress.
Wow, that's confident.
It is, but it immediately moves the conversation from, does this person fit, towards, okay, how soon could they start contributing? It shifts the focus to forward momentum.
And then, to close out each interview conversation, the source recommends making 2 specific, targeted asks. These are designed to signal coachability and real initiative.
What are the asks?
First, ask for confirmation that based on the conversation, they agree your experience seems to map well to their key priorities. This is basically checking your understanding and their perception.
Okay, confirms alignment.
Second, ask for suggestions on what specifically you might study, read, or perhaps even build before the next round, if there is one.
Oh, interesting. Why that?
It shows you're already invested, you're eager to learn, you value their input, and you're thinking about hitting the ground running even before you potentially get the offer. It leaves a strong final impression. #tag synthesis and action plan.
So to pull all this strategy together and turn it into really disciplined action, the source provides a fantastic, practical 6-week roadmap. It's designed to build maximum momentum.
A concrete plan. Love it.
It's structured to ensure you're simultaneously learning and building that crucial evidence.
Okay, walk us through it, week by week.
All right. The first 2 weeks are really about definition and figuring out the gaps. So week 1, you define those specific target roles, you do that energizing skills audit we talked about, and you assemble a core vocabulary list, maybe 50 or so role-specific keywords.
Laying the foundation.
Exactly. Then week 2 is about addressing the deficit. You identify the top 3 capability gaps you need to fill based on week 1's work, and you immediately choose the courses or mentors or resources needed to start closing those gaps. Action-oriented.
Makes sense. Then what?
Then you enter the building phase. Weeks 3 and 4 are dedicated purely to creating those 2 high-impact proof-of-work projects we discussed, ensuring they're perfectly aligned to those target roles you defined back in week 1.
Getting tangible results.
By week 5, you leverage all that built momentum. You refresh your resume and your online profiles using the new translated language and those star bullets, and you strategically line up about 5 of those informational conversations using that service-oriented networking approach.
Putting it all together.
And finally, week 6 is application week. Now you apply, but with deep intent, not just scattering resumes. You follow up immediately with any warm contacts you've made, and you strategically showcase your newly minted artifacts where appropriate.
A very structured launch sequence.
It really is. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, thinking about a pivot? Well, the path forward, it clearly requires intense discipline. It's a cycle. Learn, build, share, refine, repeat.
It's work.
It is work, but it transforms the pivot from what feels like a terrifying, uncertain job search into a much more strategic and controlled launch. And the intended outcome.
Right.
Moving toward work that genuinely leverages your most energizing strengths and truly fits who you are now and where you want to go, not just where you happen to be before. You know, if we connect this back to the bigger picture for a moment, the material makes it really clear that when the job market feels tough, like a barrier, the most powerful assets you actually possess are not your old job titles or even specific industry certifications you might have. They are those scalable foundational capabilities underneath all the core muscles you've honed over years of experience in whatever field you were in.
That's a powerful reframe. So perhaps the question to mull over this week, for you listening, is this. If you had to strip away every single job title you've ever held, what are the 3 indispensable, truly scalable capabilities hiding beneath them? The ones you could confidently sell to almost any industry, anywhere.
Really think about the answer to that question.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of HR Game Changers. Until next time, keep innovating, keep learning, and keep changing the game.